He's pretty good.
Okay.
He's hard to work for, but he's good.
So should we do the fire department first, or shall we just start with
I
admin?
do the fire department. Well, I can do the admin if you want to, and then we'll go into that.
Right, okay. Okay, let's go ahead and call the meeting to order, please.
Council workshop meeting, September 7, 2021. Hydrich, Holtmeyer,
Aye.
Patke,
Who's here?
Pettit, Reed,
Hello.
Scornia,
Hello.
Sullentrup, Wessels.
Here.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so we don't have a quorum up here, but we're going to go ahead and get started on the agenda. It's rather lengthy this evening for our workshop. So we're going to start with report of department heads, and the first item being the administration.
So I'm going to go ahead and first we'll discuss your budget highlights. We still have the same information that we had for you last workshop, which was last Monday night. Nothing has really changed from that between since that meeting. Our public hearing on the budget will be September the 20th, and then we'll have the ordinance at that time to go ahead and adopt the budget for the October 1st start here. So if there's any last minute questions you have of the budget, please let me know. And like I said, we'll do our best to try to go ahead and discuss. We have had limited amount of any questions about that since I think we first started giving you the budget and laid out kind of the highlights of what we were looking for. So,
I have one question.
yes,
Do we have any surplus this year from last year's budget?
I don't know that we know that information yet. I think we have to wait until we get, you have to wait till we get through the last of the invoices and everything else that we have at the end of the year before. Probably know that in October, November. Correct. So.
Thanks, Barry.
Okay, did you have anything else?
I have nothing else on that. The next item that we could discuss is the Lime scooters. I know that there was a traffic meeting where they went in depth about the past 6 months, what they've used, what we've learned, et cetera. And I think Sal's got a report for you tonight for something to consider at a future date. We have nothing on your, we have no item for you to take action on at the council meeting following at 7 o'clock. But tonight, we just wanted for discussion purposes, let you know what was discussed at the traffic meeting. So I'll let Sal take over.
Yeah, correct. Thank you. So I have passed out on my receipts tonight just an update and a summary of what the traffic committee discussed on Friday and their new recommendation. If you remember, we did a 6-month trial period with the Lime scooters that is set to expire in October. And so obviously there's kind of a learning curve with that, and as you all know, we've made some changes on the fly, and we wanted to come up with a solution or a proposal that would work with Lime and as this expires. So what you have in front of you is 2 pages. The first is what the traffic committee discussed on Friday. And upon a future date, so again, this would nothing be voted on tonight, but it'd be a 2-year contract, Lime exclusive, meaning we would not have other scooter companies come into town. We would have, just the same amount that we have now, which was important to the traffic commission. But then more importantly, I think it's because it can be terminated in a 60-day notice. So when we have an issue, we can say, hey, look, this is something, we're not getting the same feedback we had before. If there was an accident or something, that it can be terminated. So even though there is a 2-year exclusive contract, there is the possibility of it being terminated as needed. A change, and this is something that I think was important to the downtown board as well, but also the parking to the traffic committee, is on Front Street, we're going to propose implementing with Lime a parking corral section on front. So we'd have 4 or 5 different parking stations. We can work with Lime on that. But the idea is to allow people to use them to be able to explore downtown, explore Washington, kind of get from the high schools, and if the student has a valid driver's license. But a large portion of the miles, I think if you look at a map, and Lime can demonstrate that, have been done for recreational purposes along Front Street and along the trail. And since that's where most of them end up at the end of the day, we're going to propose implementing parking corrals. So whenever you're operating a Lime scooter and you're done with it on Front Street, you can't just leave it where you hop off. You're going to have to find on the app an actual parking station. So that'll hopefully clean that up at the end of the days, because every morning they come out and put them back into those spaces. But now people can drop them off at whatever destination they want. And we'll institute parking stations on Front.
And there will be more parking stations than what there are currently.
Yeah, we can determine that with Lime. I know there's 2 businesses that have showed interest in that, but we know of at least 4 spaces. We already talked 4 areas, but we may, we can add more than that as well. So we're going to get with Lime on a map and determine the best areas for that. The third item that we're going to propose is enacting a curfew to shut down all scooters between the hours of 10 p.m. and 5 a.m. After the shops closed and the only thing really open is bars, we didn't think it was really safe for people to be using this as an alternative to transportation after consuming alcohol. So that's another change that would happen in the long term is the 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. curfew. They just wouldn't work. If you tried to get on one, it wouldn't turn on. Utilize an impact fee to pay for any and all cleanup needs and graffiti as needed. We've had some complaints about people using the skid marks on the sidewalks or in other areas, and there is a fee that Lime it pays. It's a minimum $200 a month, and then it's 5 cents a trip on top of that if it's in excess of that, and we can negotiate those terms with a long-term contract, but actually make sure it's no one. We don't want any manpower from the parks or streets diverted from this, or any funds from the city. So it would be something that is generated from the funds that Lime creates from the users to have a third party go and clean up any issues if we did it once a week or whatever as needed. If it's Serve Pro or somebody with a power washer can go and clean that up or use some type of solution there. Allow for special requests for festival weekends. Just continue to work with them on busier weekends if we need to change parking corrals or change where they're allowed on festival weekends. They've been continuing to work with us, but we want to make sure it's in a contract, that they're responsive on that. And then lastly, I just have a note on there, any future changes that are mutually agreeable to both parties, because this was something that was brought up multiple times that, and Allison Forms with Lime is here tonight. They have been extremely responsive to us with any requests that the traffic committee has. Other businesses, I know private companies have come with requests, say, hey, can you turn off this area? And they've been responsive to that as well. We want to make sure that relationship doesn't break down just because it's not a trial basis anymore. So we want to make sure that that's there. We've put in a request that Lime will still be on our traffic committee agenda every month, and it can just be a question if have there been any complaints, that kind of thing, and that makes sure that they have a representative available to answer any of those questions. And we want to make sure we have that responsive relationship kept up, which we're confident that we will, with them being able to come out here monthly. And just an example, last Thursday with Farm to Table, that wasn't an event that that we had previously scheduled with them, and downtown Tyler King texted me at 4:45 and said, hey, we forgot to turn Lime scooters off. I sent a message to Allison, and they were off in 15 minutes. So they've been very responsive, and we want to make sure that is still the case. And then lastly, I did attach a letter from downtown Washington endorsing the transportation of needs and endorsing the scooters. So you have that for your file. The first letter I gave you in March did have the endorsement from Core, Tourism, and the Traffic Committee, and we just wanted to make sure you were aware that the downtown board did vote on this as well. And so we had our traffic committee Friday. Officer Grissom, I saw, was here, and we were pleased to hear a report that he had, for the first time, 0 complaints to report to the board. So I think this learning curve is starting to kind of ease out. People are getting used to them. We already have an ordinance in place, as you know, that enacts. We did this 6 months ago when we started this. That has rules when it comes to all motorized scooters, not just Lime, that any scooter can't be ridden on the sidewalk. They have to be ridden as close to the curb as possible. They have to have certain lamp wattage and reflectors and that kind of thing. So that's really all I have for tonight. Again, there's no need for a vote or an action. I just wanted to let you know that as this expires, we'll be coming up with an ordinance on a 2-year contract, as it's with these bullets on here. So, and I'm happy to answer any questions, and I know a representative from Lime is here as well.
In the last 6 months, have we got any revenue from this, or is it just trial period for Lime, or?
So we've gotten the $200
month.
a month minimum. We have gone over, I believe in May and June, maybe just May, where it exceeded. So there's a base. We automatically get 200 no matter what the mileage is. And if it exceeds that, then yeah. So we've been getting the $200 a month. It's set in a separate account that we would, as part of our agreement, give to downtown Washington. It's not something the city was looking to make money on. But as these other issues, we wanted to make sure we had the funds available if needed to have a third party contracted to clean that up and make sure that that would cover that cost. So,
So when will this go in effect here?
well, it expires in October. So the goal would be the first meeting in October to have I guess October 4th.
But as far as everything you got stated here, are we gonna do this? Are we gonna go 10 PM to 5 AM? Is that in stone, or are we just talking about it? Or
So right now we're just talking about it, but Lime can do that whenever. They could go ahead and just make that change.
what are the rules
today.
now?
Right now, there's no curfew on it.
Okay.
So, but that change can be made immediately. This was just something we wanted to, if we get to the point with a long-term in October, this was the point that we wanted to
Do
bring
these scooters need to be returned to the place that they're rented from, or can you still take it home if you in the vicinity and leave it wherever
Yes.
you want to?
So you can do that if you're north of 100, you can still take it home and leave it at home unless it's on Front Street. So in the app, they can designate areas that they cannot be turned off. So Front Street was an area that the traffic committee decided not to allow it to be parked anywhere. If you take it up, down to 8th Street, you could still park it down there. But if you're on Front and you want to turn it off, you have to bring it to a parking corral. Or you
But on
will
Main
have
Street,
to.
you could
will
just
have to.
park it. On Main Street or any other street, you
Correct.
could just park it.
Okay.
Yes, and Lime has seen in their data where these are dropped off large percentages up and down Front Street, so that's where we thought we could implement the parking corrals first. And the good news with them being so responsive, if we decide we want to do that in other areas, we can do that pretty quickly. So,
Sal, to answer Dwayne, if I understand, at a council meeting, we could bring up and start the curfew sooner.
we could do it right now.
Yes.
Correct. I think that actually would be the recommendation of the traffic committee. We just wanted to come up with a list. We had gone back and forth on, could we do a half hour after sundown, but the way that their app doesn't automatically track it, they'd have to get in every week, and we thought that may be confusing to users. And the biggest concern, I think, was the possibility of people using them under the influence. So they do have lights, they do have reflective, so the consensus was to go with 10 p.m. So I think it doesn't hurt to go, if we can give Lime to go ahead to implement that now, that's no problem.
I think it ought to be earlier than 10 PM myself.
I think later.
Later.
So. But this is just for your packet for consideration. I'm sorry, I was looking up the date. Is that October 4th, I believe?
Next council meeting?
The first one in October.
October the 4th.
October 4th, yeah, and that's perfect because right now the 6 months expires on October 5th. So we won't have any interim there as long as it's voted on that night. So.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
Okay.
So far, we've logged 26,000 miles, right?
27.
Over 27,000 miles?
Oh.
More than the circumference of the earth?
At the equator,
Thanks.
yeah, we saw it.
Thanks to
Thanks, Ethan.
Yeah.
Ethan always finds a way for us to understand that distance.
There you go.
Yeah. So, yeah, and Allison mentioned that, they've started, we were the first smaller market that they launched, and they've gone to other smaller markets since, and even cities that are close to triple our size have not outpaced the amount of miles that we have logged. So it's definitely a program that's being taken advantage of here, and not taken advantage in a negative sense, but just very well used. And so, like I said, we're happy with the responses that we've had from Lime, and we hope to continue that relationship with them. So.
Excuse me, Sal, real quick, because I came in a few minutes late, so I apologize. So this question might have been asked already. Have we had any serious accidents with the Lime scooters?
I remember there was one the first week that we heard about on the
Trail.
On the trail. I have not heard since, and then Officer Grissom reported at Traffic Committee Friday was the first time we did not have any complaints to report. So
There was an accident, did something happen recently, or somebody ran into?
I haven't had.
Not that I'm
anything-
aware of
Yeah,
on
I haven't had
Twitter,
anything
but-
reported to me or shared with me since the first one on the trail. So.
We did have one additional accident.
What's come up?
Yeah. Just recently, I think.
We did have one additional accident. It was just a few nights ago, I believe. Don't quote me on the exact date. But it was a female that crashed into a pole riding it. And it was my understanding that was another thing that occurred late at night, most likely as a result of intoxication. So,
And the one that happened on the trail was a young woman, I think,
Yes.
who happened to just hit a log, or a stick, right, on a, or
Yes.
just fell off and hit something. So maybe that was her story. So she kind of fell off. All right. So anyway, but it was like in daytime. It wasn't a drinking
It was in
problem.
the, yeah.
yeah, it was
daytime.
daylight hours, yes.
Right, daylight hours. So anyway, okay.
All right.
No.
Correct.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Anyone else? Okay, thanks, Sal.
You can go back up to A. 1A.
Okay.
Want to go back up
3A.
to the approval of the minutes?
Yeah, you want to do approval of minutes?
Okay.
Approval of minutes?
So move.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Wessels, seconded by Holtmeyer. They've all read them. So anyway, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you approve the minutes. Thank you.
We'll go back to the report of department heads, Administration Department, ARPA Funds Recommendation.
Good evening, Council, Mayor. You have in your packet a letter of recommendation. This is concerning the funding of the American Rescue Plan Act funds that we have received our first tranche of funds. And so back in May 17th, 2021, we brought to you, staff recommended some funds would be used for employee one-time payments for the pandemic, what we're calling pandemic pay adjustment, to recognize and give our employees some pay for working through the pandemic and not being away from work and being committed to the city and its residents and keeping that high level of service all throughout this past tumultuous year. So we are bringing forth that recommendation specifically for funding for the one-time pay adjustment. In your letter, we've spelled out more clearly how we've determined to break that up into payments. It will be paid in late September. It would be paid based on category of employment, job risk, exposure risk, and then job skills. So we've broken that down and had a couple meetings. The mayor and city administrator Lamb and I have met recently again to go through that list. So we've presented to you that we could go forward with that and pay those one-time pay adjustments in late September.
That would come to you in the form of an ordinance to go ahead and do a budget amendment for those, as we've said before. For the ARPA funds, we would go ahead and do budget amendments as we've spent the money within the categories that we're allowed to. As a matter of fact, you've got one item that's going to be discussed next, the fuel truck purchase that we talked about last Monday, that's even on your agenda tonight. But for this, we would have an ordinance for you in place for the September 20th meeting for you to go ahead and approve that budget adjustment with those funds.
It would
And
take,
it amounts to approximately $166,200,
correct,
And this is coming from the
ARPA funds.
ARP. funds.
.6 million.
Yeah, the 2.6 million that came
that
from
we
the
received.
ARPA.
Is our employees aware of all this?
So we have communicated.
Yes.
Administrator Lamb.
We
has
sent out an
communicated.
email, I sent out an email, I waited to see what council, if they had any input with regards to the overall budget, discuss with them some of the things that we were looking at or incorporating within the budget, as well as this one-time allocation from the ARPA funds. So they're aware that we've kind of broken them up into these categories. They're not aware of what they're going to receive. Some of it's obvious, you know.
But they
police-
know if they're going to get something.
Correct,
Okay.
correct.
And we've gone through those categories and added some different fire department categories as well.
Yes, we've got the fire department as well with input with Chief Frockenberg. He gave us a list of active more active, non-active. I don't want to.
Active line support.
Or whatever, don't want to offend anybody. But he gave us the list, and that's included, that 166,200 has, also includes the fire department.
Any questions or comments?
Make a motion to send it on to council.
Second.
Thank
Okay,
you.
we have a motion by Holtmeyer, seconded by Heidrich to send this item on to council. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you've sent that on. Thank you.
Airport fuel truck purchase.
As John comes up here, as we said at the last meeting last Monday, we have a fuel truck over at the airport. Again, we identified the use of ARPA funds to go ahead and do the one-time purchase of a new jet fuel truck. And the issue at hand is, I think, that we're a little concerned with our existing one. It's, he'll go on, tell you how old it is, et cetera. But essentially, time is of the essence to go ahead and probably get this thing ordered if we want to keep that service over at our airport. So, John?
Yep, correct. Thanks, Darren, for that. Good evening, council. In your packet, I gave you a cover letter, basically what Darren just identified. But the current fuel truck's a 1986 model. It is one of the oldest vehicles that we do have in the fleet. It was purchased used in 2005, which it's been maintained and serviced very well. But as you can imagine, something with pumps and filters and things such as that, it's meeting its useful life, basically. So there were some additional things that came about last week with the Missouri of Agriculture Measures and Balances Department, basically, that there was some parts on it that were not on it that are required going into the future. So we actually were kind of dinged, I guess, on that audit a little bit as well. So there's a little bit of, again, another layer, I guess, of importance to get this taken care of. We did add this to our 2022 budget as a regular budget item when the ARPA funds became available. Kevin and I met with Darren and asked if we could pull this up as fast as we could. So with that, Kevin already identified 3 different trucks. There are 3 different models with 3 different internal components, and I've listed them on that letter. Skymark 3000 jet refueler, fancy name, ProFlow 3000 jet refueler, and then a Garsite. Kevin did call various airports around and did find who utilized these refuelers and just made sure that it's something, just check basically the usefulness of them. And what we found, or what we're requesting, is to go with the Skymark 3000 for $187,650. That is not the low bid item on here. It is the step up, $6,000 higher. We do believe we can get that truck faster. It is a gas-powered truck, which we feel like is important with our operations because it is stored, covered. Diesel things have issues in the wintertime. So we felt that that was a reasonable thing to do. That's basically the summary of what we're trying to do. This does do our jet fuel. We've had the question of why can't jets just pull over to our fuel tanks? It doesn't work that way. We don't have hoses. Jets can't maneuver at our airport like that, so we actually have to bring fuel to them, which I think makes sense as well. So if you have any specific questions, I know Kevin is here.
We doing the International or the Ford chassis?
He's got it, Ford.
How is the fuel delivered to the airport? Do we go pick up the fuel?
We do not. No, it's delivered. We're on contract with Newmeyer is the
Kevin.
company, and they provide fuel to us. It's purchased.
You can't. Oh, you don't have. You can stay 6 feet away from him.
It's purchased, rough as necessary, I guess, but rest with 2 to 3 times a year as lump sum purchases. And then we have a pricing mechanism that we put into place 3 years ago now, where we just take the average of the airports essentially around and then discount that a little bit just to get people to come to our airport.
And the way I read this, you're going to leave this truck parked in the weather out in?
No. It's outside. It's in an old hangar, one that can't be utilized for a plane. So it's actually under a roof. It's just not in a climate controlled area is what I should have said.
Well, that's the part I was not sure.
No. I apologize. It's basically just in an unused hangar.
Yeah, it's better to go
Not
with
climate
gas.
control.
Better to go with gas and diesel then.
And for the little bit that it's not like it's running, road miles and under a lot of stress driving on the runway itself. So
It's not going up.
What I learned, Greg, from talking to these other airports, diesels, now you're running DEF through them, through the diesel fuel. Two things that the FAA doesn't like is that DEF, because people mix it up with de-icing fluid, and bad things happen. The other one was, with this DEF, these engines have to create so much heat to what they call regenerate, and we don't have that problem. These other, we don't have that problem with our gas. The other airports I talked to, they have to sit them trucks off to the side and run them at the extreme high idle for over 30 minutes to get this engine to regenerate. They say it's a waste of time and it doesn't really work. It regenerates, but it messes your, it messes the intake. Injectors, yes, sir. So-
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you wouldn't be buying a truck that new anyhow, probably, that has DEF, but I understand what you're saying. Nowadays, with a new truck, the DEF is, if you run it every day, it's a good thing. If it sits, it's not good. It's not good.
What chassis?
Ford 750.
Thank you.
How many times a year do you refill this truck? Or do you have we have a tank there?
Yeah, we have a bulk tank that's capable of holding 12,000 gallons.
Okay. And how many times does that tank get filled a year? About?
3 to 4.
Okay, you said that, I'm sorry.
I said 2 to 3 hours.
I mean, if it makes a difference, we've sold over 210,000 gallons since we started selling jet fuel. So, with the,
And that all went through that truck.
yes. So, and that truck, like he mentioned earlier, that truck was bought just to get us to where we could get something newer.
Yeah.
But, okay,
Anything else? Any other questions?
come on, give me another one.
I think, Kevin, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you said delivery time was 150 days?
Yes,
About 6 months?
yes.
Is it
So,
started yet?
pardon me? I already called this guy today and said that it hasn't been approved, but you're right there, and he says your name's on one, so.
All right.
Cool.
It's still, again, with the chips, everybody knows about it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so it probably needs one, right?
Well, and I think the last thing too is it's important, we looked into renting a truck just in case of a backup plan if this thing was to go down, and that's not really an option. So the issue is our risk is getting more and more and more, and if we want to continue to have that service over there, we have to look at doing something to limit that risk. And that's really where we're at. I mean, it's either we sell or we don't, because it doesn't, this is the tool
Hoping
we
we
need.
get to the winter season pretty quick.
That's part of the strategy, yeah. So,
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Kev.
thank y'all.
We'll need a motion to send this on to council.
Make a motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Hydrich, seconded by Scornia, to send this item on to council. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you've moved it on. Thank you.
Communications Department Code Red Service Agreement.
Lisa?
Good evening. In your council packet tonight, you will have the Code Red service agreement as the renewal of our 3-year lease. Our lease was up after we last in 2018, so this is a renewal of our current lease. The price is increased by $812.50, so we went from $12,500 to $13,000.
$312.50.
$312.50. So will be in your packet. It will lock us in for another 3 years, so there will be no price increase for the next 3 years as well.
Are you happy with their service?
We've been extremely happy with their service. In fact, we've been using it a lot more within the last couple of years. The engineering department is using it. We actually sent out something today
yeah.
on Code Red. So we are using it a lot more than we had been, so.
Good.
Yeah, that's awesome. You guys are taking advantage of that.
Mm-hmm.
Trash service was on there and everything else, so.
Lisa, what percentage do you know of our citizens are on there or our households? Do we know? Like, how many users do we have of Code Red? Got any of those numbers? Just give me a number.
I don't know. Well, so our contract is based on like 24,000. So you need to, so not only does it incorporate the city limits of Washington, but we also offer it into the unincorporated area that's covered by our fire department. So that's what our cost is based on 24,000. So
24,000 residents?
Yeah, yes.
or-
phone numbers.
Phone numbers.
It doesn't necessarily mean residents because you could have multiple.
Yeah, because we
and a
have
resident.
multiple phone numbers.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
All right,
So that's what ours is based on.
okay.
Lisa can get you a number.
Oh,
I can tell.
Exact number,
yes,
we can
I
email that
could,
back.
I would just be curious.
Oh, yeah, we'll
I
get
can
that.
tell
Find
you
out.
today.
I agree.
Today. So, you know, we sent out one that was Fifth Street from Jefferson Street to MacArthur, and there were 242 that were going to be notified.
Okay. Because often you mention it to folks, and it's like, I didn't know anything about that. But
Right.
more and more people are
Yeah.
catching on, so.
Exactly.
Lisa, some of them outside that area were notified? So,
Outside of the area?
yes.
So we specifically targeted people who had registered, so people, you know, they can register themselves. So we specifically targeted Fifth Street between that 100 block. So if somebody had previously left there, or if they've signed up previously but didn't change that, they could have possibly have gotten that.
You know, maybe, because I think the person told me through Facebook somehow they saw it.
Oh, the city
It was on
had it on
Facebook.
Facebook.
We
We
did
did
it
put
that
on
as well.
They put
That
out
was
a
posted on the
Facebook
page
notice
this
as well
afternoon.
today. Yeah.
They weren't sure though, and so well, you know me, looking at Facebook, but I did find a map finally, and I told them, I said, you're okay, you're okay.
Yeah, there was a map on Facebook
Yes.
as well, so.
Mm-hmm.
They must not have scored well in maps or something.
Yes.
I make a motion to send this to council.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Hydrich, seconded by Holtmeyer to send this item on to council. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you sent it on. Thank you.
Dispatching service agreement.
Okay,
for
hold
City
on.
of-
I think maybe Lisa wants to say one more thing.
No, I just
Okay.
said thank you.
Okay.
I'm up for the next one, too.
All right, okay. Go on.
Dispatching service agreement for City of New Haven.
So also in your packet tonight is the renewal contract for New Haven Police Department. Their contract is up with us. Their one-year contract is up October 1st. This is another contract for 1 year, going into effect October 1st through September 30th, obviously. There is a 10% increase in the contract. In my conversation with Chief Hammond of New Haven, he'd actually like to talk about this after the first of the year. Their budget year doesn't exactly match our budget year, and at that time, he'd actually like to pursue a longer contract with us. But for right now, we'll keep on with the one-year contract, and then we'll discuss it in the spring.
Do you remember how many calls you had since we started the first contract?
When I did what I think will end up at the end of the year, we're about 3,089. Some of that was estimate based on, you know, the statistics from the previous months.
Compared to us, that's not very many.
No, that's not very many. No.
Thank you.
And 10% will cover all the extra cost of the future raises and everything that we have coming?
No.
I don't think that would cover that.
No, not cover. I
It'll
don't
help.
mean cover.
Oh, gotcha.
But is 10% enough? Because it doesn't seem like a very.
Right. Well, so that's one of the
10%
reasons that.
What are we?
10% over last year's contract.
Yeah, so last year's contract was 6,500, so this year's contract is 7,150.
What I'm asking, for your workers, for the raises, not for the whole city,
No.
for just your department, is that gonna be enough to cover the extra time for New Haven?
I don't have that information yet.
Okay, how did we come up with 10%?
We came up with 10%. We looked at cost of living, and then we also looked at just the increase of what we felt would be necessary to carry on another one-year contract. If
Right.
they come back with a longer term, we can certainly go ahead and take a look at that. As far as hours that they spend. Like I said, she gave you the number of calls.
Right.
But does not impede any of our stuff of what we have. This is extra work. Those people would be in those chairs anyway.
I understand it, I just, don't mind helping a neighbor city, but we don't need to do it for free either.
That's exactly right. And this is, the
Right.
contract that we had before for 6,500 was based upon what they were paying the county for their
Exactly.
dispatching services.
Exactly. And like I said, it was much easier for me to pull information since we were creating the activities and so forth. So that's what I did. I ran a report of what they were currently doing, and then included that in what shared with Darren. So I can tell you, so initially, their first year, they were pulling around 1,100 traffic stops and then about 900 report numbers, keeping in mind that they pull report numbers for some traffic stops. This year, they're actually down in report numbers, is what I'm estimating them to finish up to September 30th. And their traffic stops, they've had 1,089. So I'm guesstimating them to finish about 1,292 in traffic stops. So they're up in traffic stops, but then down in report
Like
numbers.
I say, I'm just
Right,
making sure we're covering
yeah, yeah.
covering us.
I can tell you, with the time that I'm spending in dispatch recently, I worked last Thursday, and I never heard one thing from anybody in New Haven, nothing. So they didn't pull one activity for an entire 12-hour shift.
Kind of reminds you of Washington years ago.
Many years.
Many years ago. Yeah. All right, thanks. I was just wondering where we came up with the 10%.
Any other questions? I can
Any other
answer?
questions?
Thanks, Lisa.
Okay, we'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Holtmeyer, second by Hydrich, to send this item on to council. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you've sent it on. Thank you.
Fire Department Board of Directors introduction.
Okay. Tim?
Good evening, council. With us this evening also is the Board of Directors of the fire company. The fire company reorganized its bylaws, put them in effect roughly a year ago. Since that time, as we discussed, the chief officer changes recently. The Board of Directors approved those changes, and it went to the fire company. The fire company, the reorganization was when I took over, and as we were moving forward, one of the things we recognized is the amount of work that was being shouldered by just a few individuals. So the fire company was put in place to help, or the fire company board concept was put in place to basically distribute work. Overall, operationally, nothing's changed. There's still a very rigid chain of command, operationally how we work. So if we get called to an event or an alarm, nothing's changed. But within the organization of the fire company and the establishment of the fire protection district, there needed to be a bond there between what was happening fire protection-wise in the unincorporated area with the district, as well as what's happening with the city. So the fire company was the common bond between that. So with this reorganization and the board of directors, we were able to form that bond and really reorganize and reform what was going on to make things much more functional and very, very efficient. With me this evening, I have the chairman of the board, John Borgman. Mark Scornia, our assistant chief, is also on the board of directors. Father Mike Boehm is one of our board members as well. Don Peters, Captain Blake Marquardt, and Deputy Chief Buzz Eckelkamp. Terry Sullentrop and Mark Frankenberg could not make it this evening. The interesting thing about our board of directors is every one of them is either an acting or past captain or chief. So they all have leadership experience within the fire company. One of our first meetings, we went around the table and had a discussion and look at tenure of the fire company board, and I believe it was just shy of 400 years of service. With that group that we have in there. So there's a lot of tenured experience there to help drive the organization further. Some of the things that they're working on very diligently right now, the fire company is a not-for-profit, but we've never really finished that up with a 501c3. That's being completed. That's in the process. Should be hopefully completed a little bit later this year. And so what we're also looking to do eventually is work with city council to amend some of the ordinances that are in place to fix the fire department and fire company relationship. Some of those ordinances are a little bit disjointed and don't necessarily match up with how we actually have operated. And so we need to come back and fix some of those in the future. But we wanted to introduce that board. That board was also introduced recently at the Community Fire Protection District. Introduced the board there. And what they are is they're a gigantic support staff to help me. They're doing a lot of work in the background to help organize and run the operation or the administration, not the operation, the administration of the fire company with personnel issues, training requirements, and putting that together and getting a little bit more input from the executive level into how we operate and to make it a much more efficient and an organization that can work into the future. So as Darren pointed out a long time ago, do what it takes to keep it as volunteer as long as you can. And that's what this board has got a direction to do from me. There are, within that, there are some vice presidents. I'm the president of the fire company. There are vice presidents. So Mark Scornia, Mike Holtmeyer, and Buzz are vice presidents. And so we have a very rigid organizational structure now, but we're really working to get a lot of things done. So there's a lot of work being done in the background that one of the things, for example, they put in mandatory requirements for in-station time and training hours. So that's a huge difference from what we were doing in the past. What we're seeing is actually, we're seeing more time put in the firehouse. We're seeing trucks get out the door faster with more people on them. So in essence, what they're doing is working, and our numbers were, I believe, north of 90 people now. And we also, the new bylaws allowed for out-of-district volunteers. I know we have at least 2 right now, and there are more waiting in the wings. So I always, when I became chief, I had a goal of having 100 firefighters. We'll do that within the first 5 years of my tenure as chief. So I'm very happy with the direction we're headed, and very excited to introduce these gentlemen to you. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you.
Hey, Tim,
Sir.
how is it coming along on Highway KK? Is it manned now?
Yep. Station is open. Dedication is September 19th. You are all more than welcome to be there on that at 1 p.m. We're doing a dedication of that facility, and the apparatus are out there. But that station is open, manned, and made its first response the week of the fair on August the 8th, made its first response, and it's been a couple calls since then. So that station's up and running.
What's the total membership?
Right, I think it's 91-ish, 91, 92, something like that total. So
Cool, thanks.
thank you.
Okay. Congratulations, guys, for being on the board. You'll do well, thank you. So,
Planning and Zoning Department, new Verizon antenna.
Good evening. This is just a administrative review for a new permit and a new antenna on the cell tower at the fire headquarters. Verizon is wanting to remove and replace an antenna on that. The height of the tower will not increase. It does not need any additional zoning review, but it's not increasing the height, but it does need review by the council for us to be able to issue a building permit. So.
We did go back and review and ask our attorney if we could revisit the lease rate as a result of that change, whatever, but this is part of the provisions that's in the contract that is not subject to lease negotiations. So department heads brought that up again this morning or whatever, so asked them twice. We always ask for money as much as we can, see what we can get, but unfortunately in this case, they've, within that lease arrangement that you have, they can replace equipment as necessary. So they do have to get approval by you, and that's why you've got the ordinance in your council packet later on.
Is Verizon allowed to sublease on that tower?
They are the sublease. It's Crown Castle owns it, and
Right.
Verizon is
I don't know that
subleasing.
there's a sub of a sublease,
Yeah.
that I'm not aware of.
Okay.
thank you, Sal.
Make a motion to send it on to council.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Holtmeyer, seconded by Sullentrup, to send this item on to council. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you've sent it on. Thank you.
Police Department, body camera and in-car camera system plan.
Evening, Council. Sent a letter in your packet reference to a contract with Axon Enterprises, Inc. for
a total new body camera and in-car camera system for the vehicles and the officers. For over 10 years, we've had in-car cameras, 5 years body cameras. We've used WatchGuard. That was our staple. We've had come upon several issues with WatchGuard cameras. Reliability, battery life, downloading. WatchGuard was recently bought by Motorola. Since that time, we've had more issues with downloading video from our system to files and that to send to the prosecutor, which is a major issue because they want them in court, or even for case files to keep them handy for cases. So when looking at the total scheme of what we had currently with WatchGuard, it wasn't meeting our needs. At one point, we talked with NOC and added a server at City for 30 terabytes of information, of memory, so that we could store video. That 15 terabytes is full. They don't have any more room, they say, to put memory, but I don't know what's happened to the other 15 terabytes, and they can't tell me. So we did have Axon cameras for 1 year. We got those free to try them for a year. We tested those cameras for a year. There were no issues. The officers loved them. Ease of use. You could take your cell phone and view video that you did on your shift from your cell phone based on the cloud, because Axon uses a cloud-based system. So they could look at it and type the report right from their phone. They didn't have to access the computer, look at it, and go back and type the report. WatchGuard has now come up with the cloud also. So we compared WatchGuard and Axon for their pricing. WatchGuard has a 10-year, or not WatchGuard, Axon has a 10-year contract. Every 2.5 years, they will replace every body camera. We're talking 21 body cameras every 2.5 years, starting initially with the one we purchased when we do the contract. And then they will replace in-car cameras every 5 years. WatchGuard only does 5-year contracts. They will replace the body cameras every 3 years, so you get one replacement in that 5-year contract. And they will replace the car cameras every 5 years. But they also do not guarantee the pricing. They don't guarantee that the next 5-year contract, the prices won't go up. Axon guarantees once you sign the contract, doesn't matter what the pricing, what new software they have, what new hardware they have, you get the newest, latest, and greatest that they have, and it's the same pricing. It is a 10-year contract. The monies for this comes from the relief funds we got for the police officers during the last year's
CARES Act funds.
CARES Act fundings. Came in, it was for salaries, so it went into the salary budget. That freed up money to use for projects like this. So you did a budget amendment not too long ago that let us take that money over to pay for cameras, body cameras and in-car cameras, some laptop computers, and some radars. Radars and the computers are ordered. So now I'm waiting for the approval, if you would approve it, to go with an Axon contract for 10 years. The money that is set aside will cover for about 4.5, almost 5 years of the contract. So down the road, it would become a yearly budget item, and it's like $41,000 a year for 10 years. But the good side is it gives us unlimited memory. It is easily accessible. It gives officers the ability to look at it on their phone and not have to go from computer to computer when they do reports. We can easily transfer files to the prosecutor and the courts. The quality of the camera is much better in recording and in the clarity and especially in the voice. And we still, as a matter of fact, have files in Axon Cloud that we've used now that we've taken to court, and they beat any WatchGuard video cameras where you have any camera files. So After reviewing everything and with staff, we think Axon is the best choice to totally revamp our system and provide the needs that the police department needs to correctly and properly record crimes, get them to the court, and do the function that we need it to do.
Chief, how many total body cameras are you talking
There'll be 21 body cameras and 14 in-car cameras. So every 2.5 years with Axon, you get 21 body cameras.
What if we bring on a new member?
Pardon?
What if we bring on a new police officer?
It stays the same. We're based on what the officers do for 21. So we bring on another one, we would look at, is there someone that really needs their body camera, that we could transfer it if he's a road officer?
Chief, does this have anything to do with the, I don't know the exact name, but like the GPS where we can pinpoint where a police car is?
That is different. That's an AVL.
Okay.
That is part of the Omnigo system. So that is a mapping in dispatch that tells them where the car is.
Okay, I didn't know.
Now, they do have the Axon cameras will have a license plate reader capabilities. In other words, they'll be able to read a license plate and run it and tell you whether it's stolen, the driver's wanted, or things like that. That is additional charge. We didn't opt for that to this first year. Just later on in the next year or so, they'll probably be coming to you to ask for you activating the LPRs because they're a useful tool.
And Chief, you're saying the CARES funds will cover 5 years of the body
It's
cam, 3?
$148,000 from the CARES fund, or not the CARES fund, from the funding that we have available out of general fund.
Right.
That'll cover about 4.5 to 5 years. It covers, I think I have in here,
3
5 years of body cameras and 3 years of in-car cameras.
Correct. And after that, for that 10-year contract, then you'll be able to fit it into your regular budget?
Then we have to insert it in our regular budget, yes.
All right.
And we're ready, with the council's approval, we've already talked to them. This is a this-year purchase before the new budget because it's already been a budget amendment, it's already done. We've already contacted the company. Would they be able to get it to us? Yes. And would they be able to bill us so we can get it taken care of? Yes. So.
I'll make
Nice.
a motion to send this to council. If there's no other questions.
Second.
Thank you.
Did you have a question?
Yeah, did we ever get the other camera up out at 47 to 100?
That is going to come up to you next.
Okay,
It's on there. It's on here, it's FB and FC.
okay.
Okay, so we have a motion by Hydrid, seconded by Sullentrup, to send this item regarding the body camera and in-car camera system on to council. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you've sent it on. Thank
Very
you.
much, council. I'm going to stay here while Sergeant Grissom comes up and talks to you about the
Okay.
cameras.
Use of security cameras, Bank of Washington.
Welcome back.
Good evening, council. You all should have a letter along with 2 ordinances to approve use agreements for 2 separate sites for security cameras on private buildings. I had spoke with you all several months ago in reference to this project, so I won't go into a ton of detail unless you have specific questions. The one noteworthy thing is when I spoke to you last, the 2 intersections we had discussed were 100 and East Fifth Street or South Point Road, as well as 147. The 147 site, I actually had 2 different business owners who were willing to work with me. Both of them backed out for different reasons. So I had to secure another site kind of last minute. With that being said, that new site is now 100 Highway A or Jefferson, simply because it's another high volume, high crash site, and there was a building there that works well for us. So.
Are you still looking for one at 47 and 100?
Yes, that would be a goal down the road. Initially, this program was set up to kind of essentially assess how much we're actually going to need and use this. I think it's going to be very successful, and I think we will use it a lot. But initially, this year, we just had budgeted for 2 sites.
Okay. Any questions or comments?
What are the pros and cons to a business that would want to do that? You said you had two and they turned you down. Why?
They originally said yes. Then they felt some pressure from within the community that maybe they shouldn't do that.
One of the businesses actually wound up with a pending contract on the building, so the property owner obviously wasn't comfortable entering into that since there might be a new property owner.
Gotcha.
The other one had spoken to their attorney, and their attorney cited some concerns that frankly I don't think are legitimate, but
Gotcha.
that's their choice, obviously, it's their
Sure.
business, so.
And it will add to our investigative abilities in that we'll get video of crash scenes, which will help in determining how the crash happened.
Uh-huh.
So for the citizens, it will help them and for us in investigation.
Primary use will be for investigating, serious and fatal crashes, and then there will be value also in investigating other crimes that have occurred within the city.
Yeah, I know why we want them. I'm just kind of curious why a business would say they're in and now they're out. I understand.
And we'll continue approaching and looking. So 47-100 is a definite high-volume accident.
Any other questions?
Make a motion, send it on.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Holtmeyer, seconded by Solentrop, to send this item on to council. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And I guess the next item, we need a motion for that as well. Were you going to talk about that?
The other camera.
Nick, motion.
They're identical, it's just two separate locations.
Right.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Solentrop, seconded by Hydrich, to move on to council item FC with the Johnston Holding Company. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you've sent that one as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, council.
Okay.
Make a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Holtmeyer, seconded by Solentrop, to adjourn the meeting. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Right into the next one or not?
Do we need everybody in their seat here? Is Jeff going to come up? Keep moving? All right, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. We're going to wait for Greg or not?
Marco.
Um,
Oh, I think you could probably. How you doing, Jeff?
Oh.
It's a lot.
So how do we address you now? Ask Chief, or what is that?
All right. Let's go ahead and call the meeting to order, please.
Regular meeting of Washington, Missouri City Council, Tuesday, September 7, 2021, 7:05 p.m. Hydrich.
Aye.
Holtmeyer.
Aye.
Patke.
Here.
Pettit. Reed.
Hello.
Scornia.
Yes.
Yes.
Solentrop. Wessels.
Here.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will all the council members answer if they have or have not read the minutes of the council meetings dated August 16th and August 30th, 2021? Hydrich.
Aye.
Holtmeyer.
Aye.
Patke.
Yes.
Reed.
Yes.
Scornia.
Yes.
Solentrop. Wessels.
Having read the minutes, are there any comments or questions?
Make a motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Solentrop, seconded by by Patke, to approve the minutes from our last meeting dated August 16 and August 30th. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you approve the minutes. Thank you.
Approval and adjustment of agenda, including consent agenda. You have the collector's report summary, May 2021. Investment report summary, May 2021. Change order number 1 and final payment request for 2021 Circle Drive Overlay Project. Change order number 1 and final payment request, 2021 Fairgrounds Paving Improvement Project. Final payment request, groundwater monitoring for struck off landfill, and a liquor license application for Los Cabos.
Are there any comments or questions regarding the items on the,
What's the Circle Drive?
Yeah, so Circle Drive, if you recall, was bid out as early as we could this year in conjunction with opening of the pool. It was paving of Circle Drive, paving of Esther, actually there was a Market Street component to it, and Robert Street as well. That was all one paving and concrete project that was completed. The issue we had early on was we ran into some weather problems. And I was running into a scheduling issue of opening the pool. The pool was kind of driving that schedule. I needed to make sure I had that roadway paved and all the work done before the pool opened up. So what we did was, and Market Street actually was not ready to be paved because the development adjacent to the right-of-way had it all excavated out, and they did not have their concrete poured in. So I pulled the quantities off of the Market Street job, which is a deduct change order. Basically just took the quantities off. We'll do it at a later date. And then we added Terry Lane. If you recall, we replaced the water line on Terry Lane as well, and Lang Drive out of the industrial park. My goal there is the contractor would have had to mobilize twice. You have to bring a paver in, get Circle Drive done before the pool opened, demobilize, and then bring it back in to finish those other projects, Robert Street and the other. What that did was, by adding the quantities back, we have a bunch of projects on the shelf I can pull off of and add and subtract away. By doing that, we did not pay an additional mobilization fee, and we got 2 extra roads paved at the same time. In the budget, typically what I do is I identify 2 or 3 streets that we'll do, and I say various streets, because I don't know at the budget time which streets will weather the best, and then what'll warrant a need, basically. So that's where you see a pretty substantial change order, but it was done at the same unit costs as what the other streets were completed at.
Okay.
In addition to that, there's a 3-year warranty to some concrete that did not test out. We do testing on concrete. It was a lean batch of concrete. It was on some sidewalk, basically. I thought it was fairly low-key. I mean, it wasn't necessarily a driving section. So I do believe it's worth accepting it and then just taking the 3-year warranty on that, rather than rip it out and replace it.
Are we doing our own replacement program on East Main Street
East Main Street.
on sidewalks?
Yeah, we have various concrete sidewalks that we are replacing with our own guys, yes. But I'm
In-house.
very specific about when we do those and when we don't, just due to other street department requirements. But East 5th sidewalk?
No,
East Main.
East Main.
Oh, East Main.
Because I've been asked if they're going to be putting sidewalks all the way down East Main, and I go, I don't think so. I think
East
it's just
Main,
yeah.
where are you
Would
talking
you-
about?
where Butch Droege used to live down in there.
Yeah,
Oh, okay,
on the dead end?
East of Locust.
Yeah.
east of Locust.
Yeah, we did replace some panels of concrete on that
But
side.
that was just
That was
replacement,
our
not
guys.
going all the way to the end.
Correct. It was just doing basically a block of it.
Okay.
Now, I do have and I've not necessarily briefed you on this yet, I don't think, yeah, I did at the last admin ops meeting, but a paving plan for downtown and a intersection plan that we're going to be rolling out, and basically where we put pavers and start replacing the pavers downtown as well. So I'll be briefing you on that as we go forward in the next 2 to 3 year budget cycles to get those things taken care of. But we do replace straight runs of concrete, straight forms, those type of things. I don't mess with radii or ADA ramps too much with our own guys. Their skills are best used elsewhere.
Any other questions or comments?
Make a motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Holtmeyer, seconded by Sullentrup, to approve the items on the consent agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you approve the items. Thank you.
Priority items, mayor's presentations, appointments, and reappointments, proclamation, Water and Wastewater Treatment Professionals Week.
So we found out after the fact, I guess last month, it was Water and Wastewater Treatment Professionals Week. Pardon me? Yeah, who would have known? So anyway, we are coming forth today. It was August 15 through 21, so hopefully you all enjoyed your water and celebrated flushing at home on that, during that week. So anyway, so we're going to do a proclamation this evening to recognize those professionals. And Kevin could not be here this evening, so we're presenting it to John. And I know that Kevin wants this to put into out at the Public Works building, so something that he would like to have. So anyway, so it's a mayor's proclamation, City of Washington, Missouri, Water and Wastewater Treatment Professionals Week. Whereas water is one of our most valuable economic, environmental, and recreational resources, and whereas safe drinking water sustains the life, health, and safety of our citizens, and whereas abundant water supplies attract industry and investment and create jobs, and whereas proper transport and treatment of wastewater contributes to healthy communities and improved water quality for streams, rivers, and lakes, and whereas clean and safe water are necessary to fulfill the motto of the state of Missouri, Salus Populi Suprema Lex Esto, how's that? The welfare of the people shall be the supreme law. And whereas water and wastewater treatment professionals maintain and operate the infrastructure, facilities, and services that are vital to sustainable and resilient communities, public health, high quality of life, and the well-being of the people of Missouri. And whereas water and wastewater professionals were recognized as essential personnel during the COVID-19 response for their efforts to protect Missouri citizens and critical infrastructure. And whereas Missouri water and wastewater treatment professionals include certified operators, maintenance personnel, laboratory staff, wastewater collection crews, biosolids workers, industrial waste pretreatment personnel, engineers, administrative staff, and others. And whereas Water and Wastewater Treatment Professionals Week is a unique opportunity for water and wastewater professionals and the communities they serve to join together to recognize the vital role water and wastewater professionals play in our daily lives. Now therefore I, Sandy Llc, Mayor of the City of Washington, do hereby proclaim August 15 through 21, 2021, to be Water and Wastewater Treatment Professionals Week in the City of Washington. in witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused to be affixed the seal of the city of Washington, Missouri, the 7th day of September, 2021. Signed, Sandy Lucy, Mayor. So, here we go. John.
I can't believe he missed this for
Yeah,
all
no
that.
kidding. Where is this man?
He had a family situation, so,
I'm just kidding.
yeah. No, but he,
For all this?
I'll give you an update on what we're working on at 3 a.m. this morning in a second, so.
Then we had boiler today.
Yeah.
He's going to tell you about that, so whatever. No fault of ours, so anyway. Yeah, it's too bad Kevin's not here tonight, but. Okay,
Police Department reappointments.
all right. We have 2 reappointments to the police department. Mark Lindgren
Yes,
as
Counsel.
lieutenant.
Lieutenant Mark Lindgren, he's been with the city for 35 years, going on 36. His performance and his professionalism is exemplary. He continues to work towards the safety and security of our citizens and in administering to the supervision of the officers in the squads. So I'd ask for his approval. And then for Officer Rebecca Chaplin, this is her second 6-month. This approval will give her 1 year come March, her first year of service as a police officer. Her prior years of service with the Franklin County Jail has helped her in this job dealing with individuals that have been issues or problems. She has progressed well as a road officer and is an asset to the city and the department and the citizens that she serves. So I would request you approve their reappointment.
Okay. Any questions or comments?
Make motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Sullentrup, seconded by Hydrich, to approve the reappointments of Lieutenant Mark Lindgren and Police Officer Rebecca Chaplin. Officer Lindgren's term is for 1 year, and
Yes.
Rebecca's would be the second
Second 6 months.
6 months. So all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you approve the reappointments. Thank you.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you, Chief.
Board of Adjustment reappointment.
Also in your packet tonight is a reappointment of Kevin Creedy to the Board of Adjustment. His term would be expiring in 2026.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Patke, seconded by Sullentrup, to approve the reappointment of Kevin Creedy to the Board of Adjustment. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you approve the reappointment. Thank you.
Citizens' comments.
Are there any comments from any of our citizens here this evening? Okay.
Report of department heads.
Okay, Council, I have 2 items to report to you. In front of you, there's a flyer for the citywide bulk waste pickup. I know I've been reporting to you, we've been working diligently to come up with an improved operation to bulk waste pickup. Rather than have an event in the spring, an event in the fall, we're trying to get out the door where that becomes a monthly thing, where you have 2 items essentially that you can set out. Unfortunately, I've not achieved that goal yet. So working with Waste Connections, last week we did identify, not last week, I'm sorry, it's been for about a month now, but identified October 25th and 29th will be our biannual bulk waste pickup. It'll run just like it always has in the past. Like we've done the past couple times, the city crews will be out picking up scrap metal. That does have some value to us, and it actually has value to them as well because they don't have to run an extra truck. So you will see a city truck with them, essentially out ahead of them. There's a reason for that. So that's October 25th to the 29th. These will go out in utility billing. We'll start advertising this event. So if you have any questions on that or anything, we'll let you know. Until I can actually come up with a solution with the other operation, we'll continue. This is a per contracted deal, so no need to change anything on that end.
So the last week in October, the day your trash gets picked up.
That's a fact.
John, I know we talked about construction materials before.
Yes.
I know we're gonna get asked.
Yeah.
Says on here, still no construction materials, because we haven't pinpointed down for the one can yet?
Oh, no, that's been done, but that was done at the last council meeting. So it's no construction material, but understand, what that ordinance did was, it identified what was construction material and what wasn't. So having something less than 48 inches, less than 35 gallons, less than 50 pounds is not considered construction material.
So it can be out.
It can be out, yeah.
Okay.
But if you are over that, it is construction material. That's the key to it.
Right.
It's a minimal amount, and I really don't have a good way to say it other than hobby material is the best way I can come up with. A 2x4 that's
Your
36
scraps
inches
from your
long.
birdhouse can go in there, that's fine.
I'm trying to.
bunk bed.
black-
That's right, not
Trying to get
bunk.
out of the gray to go to black and white, just to make sure everybody knows what's
Just
going on.
cut 'em.
And what that does is, then I can evaluate quality control. You know, without having that, it's very difficult for me to make sure that quality control is being taken care of.
John, this one is that in addition to, there are 2 items?
No, the 2 items is not in play yet.
That's not
It's not in play yet.
Total has not
Okay.
sealed the deal.
I got
No,
you.
I've not, the issue with that is the apartment complexes.
Yeah.
Things back from some people.
So there's that.
No, I think
Or
both
is
of
that
these are
just,
okay.
both of those?
Thank you.
We good?
Okay, I guess this means. we're
Okay,
good.
second item, probably a much more urgent item. Yesterday on Fifth Street near Hooker Street, we actually had a water main break. Called the emergency crew in, thought we actually fixed it. It did not get fixed. The pipe actually split laterally. It's about a 3-foot section from what we could tell. It's actually splitting down from a joint. With that, we'll have to cut that piece of pipe out on a water main on the north side of Fifth Street. We have a valve that could have isolated that line. That valve is not holding. So what that means is we have to spread out and go further to find a valve that will hold. Closest valve we believe is that'll hold is at Jefferson and MacArthur. So that's why the boil order will go into effect tomorrow at 3 a.m. Worked with the water department. We felt 3 a.m. was the best time, not as much traffic. We do feel like it's about an hour fix. It's 42 inches underground. Shouldn't take as much to excavate it, dig it out, and do it. I believe everyone should be up on water pressure by the time they wake up in the morning. I can't guarantee that, but I'm pretty confident that's going to happen.
So are we gonna change that valve at the same time, so that valve's off?
Yeah, we're putting a new one in right beside it, basically. So that's getting taken care of as well. So that'll all happen tomorrow, or tomorrow morning. Crews are coming in at 2:30, working on that 3 a.m. Hopefully everything will be up and running. Since that line had to be shut down, we actually have to take a water sample, send it off to the lab to make sure that it tests out for all the pathogens and those things. Those tests do not come back till approximately 1:30 in the afternoon. If it shows up good on Thursday, basically is what we're looking at, then the boiler will be lifted. If it doesn't, we can do some things, take another test, and hopefully lift it by Friday is the game plan. So by moving quickly, I'm a little more risk adverse to make sure we can have everything up and open back up by the weekend. Unfortunately, it's just where we're at. I don't have much of a choice. It's banded right now. It's a slow leak, so there's no issue with the water system, but it's got to be fixed permanently, and this is the only way we can do it.
Well, thank you to our team going out at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, they were all on board with it.
Yeah.
They'll get off early tomorrow, so they're excited about that. Hopefully, knock on wood. And we did call the restaurants and kind of the high-use people along the area, along that corridor, and let them know too. And that's the best notice I could give. So Code Red played vital in that. We only sent notifications out to the people in that red corridor. What Councilman Wessel saw was our Facebook post that just goes to the general public. So only the people in the red area are going to be affected by this. And we did this similar back in the spring at Lexington, and it worked fairly well.
Or like Lisa said, if they haven't changed their address or
I
whatever
can't-
they're gonna be, right.
Yeah, I can't.
They have to update their notice information.
We do the best we can to notify each and every person. I've had issues where property owners weren't signed up, and then they didn't look at Facebook. And how do I don't have the ability to go door to door at 3 a.m. to knock on doors and do those things.
Why not?
Why not? How many answers you want?
What about the house?
So water main break, fixing it tomorrow, 3 a.m. Hopefully everybody's up and running by 5 a.m. when they get up for work. And boiler hopefully will be lifted Thursday afternoon is the game plan.
So it's not a water main break, you're replacing a water main valve.
No, it's a break, but the valve that's isolated next to is not holding, so that's why we have to extend.
And replace both.
Typically, we can replace them under pressure, which means we are not required to do a boil order.
But the
The
valve.
problem with it is, since I got to cut out a whole chunk of pipe, I can't do that.
Been there.
Yep. It's not,
John, getting back to bulky items, do we want, I
Yeah.
thought we didn't want televisions in the landfill.
what's that?
Televisions? He's asking about televisions. Thought we
It's
didn't
on
want them in the landfill. It is on there.
I would have to check on that one. Yep, I see it.
We'll check.
We'll check with that one.
Looks like Waste Connections made that.
Yeah, they
It's,
made it, but I mean, I don't
Typically, the electronic recycling is a week ahead of time on that, but I'll get a clarification on that. It's possible that their landfill can accept televisions and ours does not, so I'll have to check on that. It's
Okay.
possible. Thank you for that.
I don't think so. They don't use our landfill, do they?
Yeah,
Yeah, they have a credit
They
of
do.
so much.
yeah, per
That's
per
part of their
contract.
agreement.
Yeah, per
They may
contract, they
take those
get,
the other place.
5,000
They won't
tons,
take TVs out there?
a lot of them, huh?
They're not allowed
Well,
to
I
take them out
mean,
there?
televisions is a difficult thing, right? The old CRTs are the problems.
Right,
The newer televisions are not a problem.
it's flat screens.
Correct. So, I mean, we're hopefully 15 years beyond CRTs, so.
Okay.
Wessel's going to set out his council.
He's going to put the whole council out there.
We just ask that it's done orderly. Whatever you put out there, just try to make it as orderly as.
Organize it on the court.
Do what we can do here. Thank you all.
Okay. Anyone else with department head? Okay.
You're talking trash pickup, I noticed on there, no medications. The police department still has its drop box for medications, so you have unused, someone passed away, they left behind a lot of medications, or you have old medications, you can bring them by the drop box at the police department in the lobby, put them in there. We get 100 pounds every couple months, so we get a lot of medication.
Chief, what do you do with them?
Well, we store them, and then we find somebody that will destroy them for us,
Okay.
which has become an issue. The DEA used to take them, they're not taking them. The hospital used to do it for us, right now they're not doing it for us. So we're trying to figure out what to do with them.
Thank you.
Tony did just text me. We do take all TVs at the landfill. However, we do encourage people to recycle them. So there's your answer. Why I didn't know that, I don't know, but
Tony's watching.
there we go.
YouTube channel's up and running.
Yeah, hi, Tony.
We'll tell him hi. Okay, are we ready to move on? Okay.
Ordinance resolutions. An ordinance accepting the bid from Skymark Kansas City, Kansas, and to approve the purchase of a new Skymark standard 3,000-gallon jet refueler and amend the 2021 budget.
Whitmire.
Introduced by Councilman Holtmeyer. This is
Okay,
the
as I-
vehicle.
Previously briefed you, or Kevin and I briefed you on at the last meeting. We're looking to purchase the Skymark 3000. We did get 3 bids. This is not the low bid. It's actually it's $6,000 more expensive than the low bid. One of the reasons for that was to go with a gas motor. It's also a 150-day turnaround time, and we did check on all the other, we did check with other airports on how they like this vehicle, and it's all come back positive. So we are asking your approval to move forward. The ARPA funds will pay for this item.
Okay, any questions or comments? Okay.
You wanted the gas engine because
We-
you didn't want to deal with the diesel.
Correct. We wanted the gas engine just because with DEF and having to let it run, basically, it's not a vehicle that runs road miles and gets warm. When you use it, you got to be able to jump in it, fuel something up.
I agree.
So it just seemed like it was a better use for, a better product for this use, so.
Is there any value to the old one? It's an old truck, I know.
We will be trying,
Yeah.
but I don't know what
That's the
value.
one we got from Green Bay?
Yep,
Yes, sir.
that's how long it's lasted.
30 years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's a
So we
That
bought
was
it
a
in
big
2005,
deal. That was a big
16
deal when we got
years.
that.
1986 purchased.
An 86 truck.
2005.
We've had it for maybe, what, 8 years?
No, 05.
05.
No, we picked it up in '05, but we did that when we did the airport expansion.
Maybe they want it back.
Those are the dates I was given.
You seem to think you have a different scheduling,
We got that when we came.
huh?
Okay.
Yeah,
Kevin went and got it.
Right.
Yeah, that was the date.
I will
Okay.
have to think about
Given.
that.
Time
I'm not
flies.
gonna argue.
Time flies, right?
Pull out of me.
No pun intended.
Okay, any other questions?
No, you get it.
An ordinance accepting the bid from Skymark Kansas City, Kansas, and to approve the purchase of a new Skymark standard 3,000-gallon jet refueler and amend the 2021 budget. Holtmeyer,
Aye.
Patke,
Yes.
Wessels,
Aye.
Hydrich,
Aye.
Reed,
You bet.
Solentrup,
Yes.
Scornia.
Yes.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of a service agreement by and between the City of Washington, Missouri and Onsolve Llc.
Holtmeyer.
Introduced by Councilman Holtmeyer.
In your packets tonight, you have a 3-year contract with Onsolve Llc, the provider of our Code Red services. It will lock us in for those 3 years at the $13,312.50. As I stated before, that's an increase of $812.50 from our past 3 years contract. It's a great service that we've been utilizing for all of our citizens, so with your approval, I'd like to renew that for another 3 years.
Okay. Any questions or comments? All right.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of a service agreement by and between the City of Washington, Missouri and Onsolve Llc. Holtmeyer,
Aye.
Patke,
Yes.
Wessels,
Aye.
Hydrich,
Aye.
Reed,
Yes.
Solentrup, Scornia.
Yes.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of a dispatching services agreement by and between the City of Washington, Missouri and the City of New Haven, Missouri.
Hydrich.
Introduced by Councilman Hydrich.
This is again the 1-year contract for the New Haven Police Department for dispatching services with our communications department. It's a 1-year contract. We're going to start talking about it in the spring because I'd like to do a longer contract in the future, but for right now, we're going to remain at a 1 year. So it's an increase from $6,500 to $7,150, $7,150.
Any questions or comments?
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of a dispatching services agreement by and between the City of Washington, Missouri and the City of New Haven, Missouri. Holtmeyer,
Aye.
Patke,
Yes.
Wessels,
Aye.
Hydrich,
Aye.
Reed,
Yep.
Solentrup,
Yes.
Scornia.
Yes.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of a consent to modification of antenna by and between the City of Washington, Missouri and Crown Castle.
Holtmeyer.
Introduced by Councilman Holtmeyer.
This is just the ordinance that follows the update we gave in the previous meeting for the new Verizon antenna on 14th Street. No increase in height there, so.
Okay, any questions or comments?
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of a consent to modification of antenna by and between the City of Washington, Missouri and Crown Castle. Holtmeyer,
Aye.
Patke,
Yes.
Wessels,
Aye.
Hydrich,
Aye.
Reed,
Yes.
Solentrup, Scornia.
Yes.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution, an ordinance authorizing and directing the City of Washington, Missouri to enter into a 10-year sales contract between Axon Enterprise, Inc., Scottsdale, Arizona for a body camera and in-car camera system plan.
Hydrich.
Introduced by Councilman Hydrich.
This was the plan I discussed with you, council, at workshop. Requesting your approval to move on with it. And if you have any questions, I'm ready to answer any questions.
Any questions or comments?
An ordinance authorizing and directing the City of Washington, Missouri to enter into a 10-year sales contract between Axon Enterprise, Inc., Scottsdale, Arizona for a body camera and in-car camera system plan. Holtmeyer,
Aye.
Patke,
Yes.
Wessels,
Aye.
Hydrich,
Aye.
Reed,
Yes.
Solentrup, Scornia.
Yes.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of an agreement for the use of security cameras by and between the City of Washington, Missouri, and Bank of Washington.
Saltrop.
Introduced by Councilman Solentrup.
Council, this ordinance and the next one is for cameras to be mounted on private buildings that will view, one to view the intersection at South Point and 100 and one at Highway A and 100 for purposes of recording the intersections for traffic accidents and having a record on file for major incidents and other types of collisions.
Okay, any questions or comments? Okay.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of an agreement for the use of security cameras by and between the City of Washington, Missouri, and the Bank of Washington. Holtmeyer.
Aye.
Patke.
Yes.
Wessels. Hydrich.
Aye.
Reed.
Yep.
Solentrup. Scornia.
Yes.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of an agreement for the use of security cameras by and between the City of Washington, Missouri, and Johnston Holdings, LLC.
Saltrop.
Introduced by Councilman Solentrup. This is the second ordinance on private buildings.
Yep.
Any questions or comments? Okay.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of an agreement for the use of security cameras by and between the City of Washington, Missouri, and Johnston Holdings, LLC. Holtmeyer.
Aye.
Patke.
Yes.
Wessels. Hydrich. Reed.
Yep.
Yes.
Solentrup. Scornia.
Yes.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
An ordinance approving a boundary adjustment for Williams Brothers subdivision in the City of Washington, Franklin County, Missouri.
Holtmeyer.
Introduced by Councilman Holtmeyer.
There we go. All right, this is a requested boundary adjustment for the Williams Brothers property at the corner of 5th and Stafford Street. This is the existing parcel layout now. You can see it was separated out when they had multiple tenants there and from old historic when there was multiple houses and other property owners there. Now that they have expanded and taken over ownership again of that entire parcel, they've asked for a boundary adjustment. There's kind of a lot to be shown here, but they do show making this all one lot, expanding this back lot here, and then this cross-access easement to get from Stafford back to the delivery area. So there's no net new lots they're consolidating, so did not have to go to planning and zoning. We do recommend approval. We'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions or comments?
All right, thank you.
Very straightforward.
Okay, thank you, Sal.
An ordinance approving a boundary adjustment for a Williams Brothers subdivision in the City of Washington, Franklin County, Missouri. Holtmeyer.
Aye.
Patke.
Yes.
Wessels.
Aye.
Hydrich.
Aye.
Reed.
Yes.
Solentrup. Scornia.
Yes.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
Mayor's report.
I hope everyone enjoyed the Labor Day weekend, and I would like to thank Dwayne Reed here for getting the flags back on Main Street and in throughout the downtown area. I know you asked about those at one point, and you were diligent, and you found them. So anyway, I believe they were over at the police department, and it just looked great.
The
So,
chief found them. He did.
yes. So,
We put them up, we
Chief-
took them down. It went well.
yes, and it was good to have them up for the weekend. So anyway, it was something that the J.C.'s used to do, and
They're doing it. I
yeah,
helped.
but you helped. But
They
thank
took it
you.
over.
Thank you very much. It looked really nice. So, and that's really all I have, I believe.
City Administrator's report.
No report, just have one item to cover in executive session.
Council comments.
I would like to propose that we pass this evening a curfew on the Lime scooters. At the Traffic Committee last Friday, we had a long discussion, and we kicked around all kinds of possibles. Staying with no curfew all the way to later, to earlier, back and forth. We had a lot of input from a lot of different people, and after the discussion, the committee felt that the best way to go would be a 10 to 5 curfew. So I'd make that motion that we amend our contract with Lime Scooters to include that curfew as soon as possible.
Immediately.
Yeah, immediately if possible,
Okay.
yes. So I'd make that as a motion.
Okay, do we have a second for that?
I'll second that.
Okay.
Before we vote on it, is this something that we were supposed to talk about tonight?
It was on the
talked
first
about it.
item on the, under administration.
I wasn't here, Jeff wasn't here, but I'd still like to bring a couple things up about it.
You can talk, Sal's here, he gave the report.
Am I reading this right, where any child, any age can ride Lime scooters now?
No,
No.
Where does it say that?
you get,
Those are just additional changes. That's not anything. That's, all the existing rules are still,
Let's see, options that will encourage individuals of all ages to live, work, and play downtown.
that's downtown
That's
Washington's
downtown-
endorsement
that's an
of all
endorsement
types of
letter.
transportation.
Endorsement by downtown.
Yes.
Okay.
Endorsement letter.
They like
So,
them.
what are these?
Well, Sal,
yeah, so that, our 6-month trial period is coming up here in October, and that is the traffic committee's recommendations of additional changes to add to the 2-year contract that will come back in October to be voted on.
No, I have one question about scooters. Do they have lights on them?
They do.
they do.
Jeff, did you see it?
Front and
I don't
rear.
have a paper.
So do you need,
What is the special request for festival weekend?
Just if, we like to be able to have some flexibility with them on, written into the contract that if we have a festival weekend, we need to turn off a zone here or, you know, add parking corrals in different areas as festivals get planned and added to the schedule. We didn't want to just write these festivals, these 4 festivals all year round. We wanted some flexibility to be able to work with them as new festivals are added. to the
Meaning
schedule.
what, they can ride within the festival district?
No, meaning
No,
we
they-
can turn it off as needed.
Okay.
Sal, why don't you go through the whole list, if you
Might
don't
as well.
mind?
Yourself.
Sorry I wasn't here.
Oh, we're sorry, too.
I'm sorry Jeff wasn't here.
We're
So-
sorry about that as well. So-
So all the existing rules would still be in place, you know, have to be 16, scan a license and all that, but since the 6 months are up on October 5th, on the October 4th meeting, propose a 2-year contract that is Lime exclusive, meaning we won't have any competing scooter companies come in, and you won't have additional scooters down there or anywhere in town. Can be terminated in a 60-day notice, so that we could, if we have an issue, we could say, hey, you have 60 days to remove them. Create parking stations for Front Street only, so that way if you want to terminate a ride on Front Street, it has to be placed into a parking corral, is what they'll call them. That just says on an app, you can't turn it off until you put it in a designated parking area, not necessarily where you picked it up, but in one of the parking areas on Front Street.
Are we going to create more of those?
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
And
we're gonna have
work
more
with- We're
on
going to work
Front
with
Street.
Lime on where to put those on Front. I know of 2 businesses that have said they'd like to have them on Front, but we know we want at least 4, but we'll determine based on their data where they're left right now, where we consider the best places.
So where are they at now? I mean, we don't have any now.
No, you
Yeah, we have
do.
corrals, we have corrals.
So right now, when you terminate a ride, you can just leave it anywhere, and you have to take a picture of it that it's parked not on its side, or, you know, not in the street or anything. It scans that, but you can leave it anywhere. On Front Street, we're proposing designated parking areas where you have to bring it back to one of maybe 4 parking corrals.
Most
Right
of
now,
them
we
are
don't have
located
that.
on that parking lot
Right, I
that's
understand.
across
I got you.
from Sugar Fire.
Okay.
But you could still leave them on Main Street, Second Street,
Correct.
4th Street. You don't have to bring it back down to Front
Correct.
Street, but it was just getting really congested down there.
Yes, that's where a
on
lot of
Front.
people were, every day they're picked up and brought to a starting station, and people can leave them wherever they want right now, but we're proposing that if you're on Front Street on the riverfront, they'll have to be put back into a parking area. So, the curfew that we talked about, 10 p.m. to 5 a.m., the impact fee of having the revenue generated by Lime that's given the city to pay for a third party to clean up any issues with, if someone has this tire marks, if there's any graffiti or marks from that we could use that funding, have basically the money from Lime to pay for a third party to power wash or scrub that on a weekly, monthly basis as needed.
Any idea where we're at in 6 months?
We get $200 a month minimum, but then we have gotten,
May, you said we had more.
In
May,
May.
we did get about $300 because it was just a really busy month, but that was the only one month that we went above the 200.
And that that money is to eventually go to downtown.
Yes, and we'll propose using that money first to then clean up any issues, like you have, I threw out ServPro, but someone who can go and power wash as needed on a retainer, and then any additional funds would go to downtown. And then the special request for weekends, that's just to keep flexible, right? For an example, with Farm to Table, we didn't have that turned off. Within 15 minutes, we sent, at 4:45 on that Thursday, we sent Lime a message, and they had the scooters turned off on Main Street. And we want to be able to say, hey, we still have that flexibility for festivals and events. And then any future changes, if the recommendation comes from the traffic committee, we want to be able to add that, so.
And also we'll be able to take some of that fee money and clean up like they do
Sure.
donuts or whatever. And
Yep.
we have the opportunity to serve co or somebody over there and clean up that mess.
So,
And we've logged over 26,000 miles, which is
27,000.
yep, that's a lot.
27 now, 27,000, which is,
Updated.
yes,
It is a lot.
as written, huh?
And we'll have that on your October 4th agenda. So. Okay,
All right,
thank you.
did that answer your questions? Steve?
27,000.
I
How do you know
didn't
that?
hear the word it said.
Would you like to repeat it? Sal, could you come up? Never mind.
You did too.
Yeah, it's still out there.
Okay, so you have a motion out there,
I second it.
and you second it. So the motion is to immediately change the curfew.
So then,
Put in a curfew.
Put in, there is no curfew now, so
10
put in.
PM to 5 AM,
to-
right?
It'll have to be tomorrow, just because I don't have access to that. We'll have to send it.
It's just a curfew.
And you're going to do it 10 to 5?
Correct.
Okay.
do they have a lot of scooters out after 10 PM?
Oh, yeah.
They do.
And their problems, according to the police.
That's your.
That's why they
part,
made
right?
it, that's why they
This
recommended
is a
that change.
request from the police department. This 10 PM is a request from the police officers, right?
Yes. I go a
Okay.
little later, but I go with my staff, so.
All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. So by your vote, you approve the curfew of 10 PM to 5 AM. Okay, thank you.
And I guess they'll enforce it?
Well, it won't have to, they'll shut them off.
They'll shut them off at 10 o'clock.
Will.
They won't be able to run a scooter after 10.
It won't start.
They turn off.
Work out of that.
And they're aware, they were at the meeting Friday, and they're aware of us. They're okay with it.
Yep. Okay, anything else? Council, I think we're at council comments?
Yeah.
Anyone else?
City Attorney's Report. Public vote on whether or not to hold a closed meeting to discuss personnel, legal, and real estate matters pursuant to Section 610.021 RSMO 2000. Holtmeyer.
Aye.
Patke.
Yes.
Wessels. Hydrich. Reed.
Yes.
Solentrop.
Yes?
Swernia.
Yes.
Attention.
I am paying attention.
By your vote,